Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Presentation Tool Proficiency Tips. Testing 1, 2. You got it? Okay, let's get started. In this tutorial, I'm going to share two simple techniques for creating a presentation slide that arouses attention and engages an audience. I think you'll find both tips genuinely helpful. The first tip deals with making the text on a presentation slide clearly stand out from the background, especially if the background happens to be a picture. In this slide, I've chosen to place the text over a very busy part of the picture. I could have easily put it up here for the sake of making it more readable, but for our purposes, I want it down here precisely because it's so busy. With that said, the very first thing we can do to make the text stand out better is add a shadow to it. This will give it some depth, and that in turn will improve its definition. You'll have a variety of options for experimenting with the shadow, how much to add, and also how it will be positioned around the lettering. Here, for example, is a deep shadow, and here's less deep. Let's stay with the less deep one. As you can see, adding a shadow helps to create the appearance of some separation between the text and the picture. So here's before, and here's after. Now, while this addition of a shadow makes the text a little easier to read, there's still a lot of conflict between the text and the picture. Putting them together like this even feels a bit uncomfortable or confusing to the eye. What I really want is for the audience to be entirely focused on the text. So the next thing I can do to help the cause is to blur the picture like this. You can experiment with how much you want to blur it. In this case, I've seriously blurred it to make the text really stand out and grab your attention. There's no longer any conflict between the picture and the text. Let's review what we've done. We started off with this, we improved it a little by adding a shadow, and then we got the audience to focus completely on the text by blurring the background. Can you see how this might help if you're doing a live presentation and you want the audience to easily follow along? Ask yourself, which of these three slides does a better job of directing attention onto the text? Let's look at another quick example. Here we've got a sharply focused piece of fruit in the foreground of an otherwise blurry picture. Notice how the fruit immediately attracts your attention. Now, let's add text. Here it is without a shadow, and here it is with a shadow. Can you see how it seems to stand out just a little more with the shadow added? Now, let's blur the fruit like this. Does that appear to help separate the text from the picture even more? Let's compare. On the left, the fruit is in focus. On the right, it's blurred. Though the difference between the two is somewhat subtle, it's still noticeable. If you want to quickly focus audience attention onto the text, which do you think would work better? To put this in the context of a presentation, let's assume this picture is the first slide in a sequence. While having it stand alone, I can say whatever I want that's related to it. Should I then desire to redirect your attention, I can blur it in the next slide, maybe take a little liberty with the text to make it stand out even more, and now we have a nice segue for moving the presentation forward. Notice how this technique not only gives the presentation some added visual variety, but also provides a little dramatic flair. For instance, here's without the blur, and here's with the blur. Which of the two do you perceive as more dramatic and powerful for conveying the importance of location to a business? If you start to experiment with these techniques, you'll be limited only by your imagination. For example, let's say I want to give you a short tour of the city to illustrate some points of interest. There's a nice museum in this building down at the shore, a fine restaurant on the 21st floor of this one, an art gallery in the lobby of the building to the far right, and a great club on the roof of this one. For the sake of making a comparison, here's another take using a different technique. There's a nice museum in this building, a fine restaurant on the 21st floor of this one, an art gallery here, and a great club on the roof of this one. Or maybe I want to tell you a little about the history of the city. For example, when it was first founded in 1918, it was confined to this small area near the shore. Over the years, it has grown considerably in size, and now it covers a much larger territory. So there you have it. By adding these two simple techniques to your presentation tool repertoire, that is, using the shadow effect and changing the picture from focused to blurred, you can effectively grab an audience's attention and guide it along.